budget is $89.2 billion for fiscal year 2019. That's a number that's almost obsolete the moment it is announced. As the year goes on, there are costs that are added, there are revenues that come in, and this year's budget projected for fiscal year 19 is about $4 billion more than it was at this point last year, and already they've revised up the budget from fiscal year 18 to 89.5.
I want to highlight a couple of strategic capital investments in affordable housing and economic development that we added throughout this plan cycle. This year, we continue our commitment to NYCHA residents by investing just over $420 million in capital to fund infrastructure repair, including heating system upgrades. This brings the administration's total investment in NYCHA to $5.1 billion since the mayor took office in 2014.
I think it's common sense that the longer the good times last, the closer you are to a time when they will change. And we are now, if the projections of all of the economists at this table are right, things are going to be great through 2022. That's 151 quarters of economic growth. It's the longest in modern history. It's not going to last that much longer. And it's not about the city and whether there's good job growth in the city and whether the city is a center of activity. It's about what's going on around us. The mayor has been very vocal about saying, times are good, let's spend on things. And we're saying, times are good. Let's get ready for the time when it's not good. And if you don't control your spending, and you don't put more aside in reserves, and you don't right-size the amount of debt service you're paying for the time when the debt interest rates go up, then you're going to have to do very unpleasant things, sort of in an emergency, draconian cuts across the board way, and it would be better to be prepared and do things in a more targeted way.
We project about 10% of the city's budget we have in reserves, and I think there have been calls for as high as 12 to 14% and so forth. I think when you do that, when you're constantly saying we need reserves, we need citywide savings, because the budget is a pie, it's priorities, right? We think that there's money within the budget to reprioritize and put to other things, and that you don't necessarily have to add more to the budget.
If you look right now at sort of what is available for this year or for next year, in terms of reserves, you have about $4 billion. You have the budgeted reserves plus the amount of the Retiree Health Benefit Trust that you could use in the given year. Next year's gap is $4 billion. In 2009, when the tax revenues fell 7%, that's the equivalent today of another $4 billion. So we're sort of, and that's not a prediction, but it's just a measure of kind of where we are in terms of the available funds. I think it's worth noting that since the end of the recession, 500,000 or so more people have decided it's worth living in New York. We've added 800,000 jobs. Melanie, we're at the highest level of jobs in the city that we've ever been at. So, New York has been wildly successful. And other places, there's the attraction, as you noted, of urban areas now, and other places have been successful, but, given the challenges, we've held our own remarkably well.